Welcome in to another episode of Betting the Pitch. I'm your host, the real underscore G Warner, on Instagram, Patreon, and on Twitter. You can also find me on YouTube under the same at the real underscore G Warner. If you want to do a minute long type of content as opposed to what will likely be an hour, it's late night with the real underscore G Warner. Tried to get this done Friday morning, but it is Friday evening here in the United States in Dallas, beautiful Dallas, Texas, where the weather is about as hard to understand as officiating across many major sports. But if you're not a member of my Patreon yet, check it out. Patreon.com. So that's the real underscore G Warner. Best spot to get all my plays, leans, write-ups. You'll get a lot of college basketball for tomorrow. I think I'm still over 30 units this season. Made 36 last season at pregame. And there are more plays to be found on the Patreon website, or become a patron, and you'll figure that out. Plus, we've got a huge soccer card to go through. I'm going to go through English Premier League, Spain, Italy, Germany, France, all picking a best bet from each of the leagues. And then we'll come out with an ultimate best bet, which is what I cut into shorts on YouTube or reels on uh, whatever lap platform is, Instagram, that Mark Zuckerberg is running, but they had a good earnings day today. Also, stock tips on Patreon, so check that out. But we'll start in England. All lines are quoted courtesy of Bet Online. I have a link in the podcast description, whether you're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or on Spotify, that will give you a 50% sign up bonus for your first deposit. And then there's also a sister site, SportsBetting.ag, which is giving even more. They're doubling your money up to $500. So I would go suggest getting your money in there. Same lines, same opener, same everything, just blue versus red backgrounds, it looks like to me. And you get a lot of free money to use, which I feel like is the best way to do it when you're using the casino's money against them. What other scenario would be better than that? So go take advantage of that. Links are in the podcast description. I think they're better than what's being offered. But make sure you follow the links so that I get some credit too. So we'll start in the English Premier League on the 3rd of February of Everton hosting Tottenham. Currently, Everton a quarter goal underdog at home with almost all the juice on Tottenham. Over under is 2 3/4. It's juiced very heavily to over. I'm kind of hoping this one hits 3. Tottenham are a really tough team to play unders with, and I'm trying to be as sensitive as possible to playing unders because they take the worst beats in all sports, but especially in soccer. I just actually watched the Bologna Milan match from last weekend, and seeing Milan fail to score 2 penalties yet still go over the total was incredible. But those sort of things happen. And unfortunately, well, I guess there's 3 penalties in the match. It's not good for unders really ever to see a penalty in a match, period. I've not done the stats on it yet, but I plan to in the offseason. Looking forward to the offseason, but we still have many, many months to go through and a lot of money to be made. I think there's been a lot of you that have been supporting me on pregame lately, or joining my Patreon. Thank you so much for doing that. And I think the soccer hot streak has been a huge benefit to that. Anyway, for this matchup, I like Everton at home. They have a great home crowd. Um, they've, I guess, won a lot more matches on the road than you'd expect, considering how great of a crowd they have. They haven't really had that ton of success at home just yet this season. But they started off pretty poorly. I think things have come around, and Everton are still without Heung-min Son, and they're a different team without him. I think I'm probably more interested in the side right now, getting that quarter of a goal draw at home as a half unit win, than I am the total. Though if it hits 3, I'll be a little bit more interested in that. Moving next to the big window on Saturday in the English Premier League, we have Burnley hosting Fulham. Currently, Burnley a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under is 2.5, and it is juiced all the way to under. And that would make sense to me because Fulham have played a ton of matches lately. They're not used to playing multiple matches in a week. They had to play the Carabao Cup semifinal, use their best that they had, and then used their second stringers for the FA Cup. So they got a little bit better rest advantage, or I guess rest situation here. But both these teams are coming off really quick turnarounds from Burnley playing, I think, at Man City, and Fulham playing whoever the heck, I guess it was Everton. No goals in that Fulham match. Didn't really feel like there was a ton of big chances. I guess there were a couple times where they almost got the ball over the line and the goal decision system came into use. But Fulham as a road favorite just doesn't make sense. They had a good run of 3 or 4 matches where they scored 3 goals or more. but they're back to scoring nothing. And I don't think they should be a favorite on the road, even though Burnley are a promoted side that haven't looked great. The nice part about Burnley is I still feel like their high totals from early in the season are a result of them playing aggressively and not realizing how pragmatic they needed to be. They've been more pragmatic, and I think Burnley has a really good chance to win a home game against Fulham. Brighton then hosts Crystal Palace. Currently, Brighton a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice on Crystal Palace on the road. Over under is 2 3/4, juiced all the way to under. So maybe we see this hit 2.5. Maybe it hits 1/2 of a goal on the road team. But Crystal Palace has been scoring a lot of goals lately. They've been doing a really great job of coming from behind, which is not really expected, but they've been giving up some very, very early goals. They probably want to stop that. Brighton on the other side, they've been really confusing. They scored a bunch of goals in the FA Cup against Luton Town. No, not against Luton Town, against Sheffield United, I think it was. And they've been a great goal scoring team, but I'm still not a believer in their offense. I feel like they've really struggled this season to balance multiple competitions. There's been a ton of matches, even though they haven't been all in the Premier League lately. So Palace is my interest here. I don't know if 3/4 of a goal, excuse me, is enough for me to play. That certainly would be for most teams, but I am a little bit concerned about Brighton scoring. But at the same time, Crystal Palace have done a great job scoring goals. Eze and Elise are so good, and I really want to take advantage of them being on the pitch at the same time because those are big time threats. That does, I guess, a little bit under threats, using that same word for the under, especially when it falls from 2 3/4 to 2.5. That may happen, though it might end up coming back around. The juice certainly points to a drop rather than a rise to 3. I think I'm looking to be against Brighton, and I think their offense is still overvalued. So that does put me interested in the road team and the under as well. Moving next to Newcastle hosting Luton Town. Currently, Newcastle a 1 1/4 goal favorite with almost all the juice at home. Over under is 3 with all the juice on the over. Luton have been really competitive. They're not a great road team, but who is in this world, really? They've been really competitive, as I just said, and I feel like they're scoring a lot, which is definitely going to put the under in jeopardy. But I just don't really believe or trust in the Newcastle offense. They had a good showing on the road at Aston Villa midweek. Luton Town have been having great showings everywhere. And so I'm interested in that big dog getting more than a goal, so a single goal loss. And I think they're going to go in and Luton will try to score, of course, but I think they know that they need to start really shutting opposing teams down. Newcastle, especially at home, I think will result in as conservative a game plan as we might have seen from Luton. So that makes you like that 1 1/4 goals and also that under 3. I love that push on 3. And for the nightcap on Saturday, we have Sheffield United hosting Aston Villa. Currently, Sheffield United a 1 goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under is 3 with all the juice to under. Now, I think the only thing I want to do here is under 3. But if we lose that, I think I'm very concerned about Sheffield United's defense. It looked like it was working when Chris Wilder came back, but they have been giving up a ton of goals. Maybe they just finally maybe the cream has risen to the top. Maybe that's the right phrase to use. Whatever has risen, Sheffield United's defense has not. And they have scored a bunch of goals lately, but they're coming in really high scoring matches. They don't have enough firepower to overcome or really to even come back in matches. So I think they need to start playing real defense. They're a much better team at home. Of course, Aston Villa have been really struggling away from home as well. They do probably have some motivation after a bad home result midweek, but ultimately, Aston Villa going on the road is a big favorite. Is something I'd like to be against. I just don't know that I can trust Sheffield United's defense to play them as only a 1 goal underdog. With that said, I do like the push on 1, and I love the push on 3. And Aston Villa goes and wins 2-0, and you do profit on the under, but you would lose the side. So that's probably why I'm more interested in under than anything. Moving to Sunday, we have Chelsea hosting Wolves. Currently, Chelsea a 1 goal favorite, a little bit more juice on Wolves on the road. Over under is 2 3/4, juice all the way to over. And if you've been listening to this podcast, thank you for the support for the many years I've been doing this. I guess it's many now because it's more than 2, I think. If you have been listening, I love Wolves. Think they're a great defense. They make it really hard for the opponent to score, which is great for them as an underdog, where they almost always are, and great for them as an under or to play the under with their matches as well. Chelsea are a complete opposite side. I think their defense is the best part of them. They really struggle to score goals. I'll believe when they start finishing chances, and I don't really believe they've got to prove it to me for a long, long period, and I just don't believe they will. Wolves will not be as insane and stupid as Middlesbrough were in the Carabao Cup semis. So second leg, especially. And I just don't think Chelsea, even at home, are able to punish Wolves. Love that push on one, and hoping that we get a three on the total at some point. Juice certainly looks like it might get there. Next match will go to Manchester United hosting West Ham. Currently, Manchester United 1 goal favorite at home. All the juice on West Ham on the road. Over unders 2 3/4. Juice all the way to over. So West Ham as a 1 goal underdog going on the road to a team that hasn't scored much at all this season, despite the big Manchester United name. I'm interested in West Ham. They've certainly been missing a lot of players. They did get Cruz back in their starting lineup on the last match day, so that was big, and certainly have been missing a lot of players. Doesn't seem like they're super healthy at the moment, but Manchester United giving a full goal to a competent team is just way too much. So I like that +1. And I like under 2 3/4 right now. Looks like it might even get to 3. Moving next to Bournemouth hosting Nottingham Forest. Currently Bournemouth a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice, almost all the juice. Over unders 2 3/4 with all the juice to over. Bournemouth have been a more goal scoring team than I expected. Now, this is a weird situation because they like to sit back and counter. Nottingham Forest are going to be very conservative away. So what do we do here? Two teams that don't want the ball. That usually makes me want to play under. I think I'm less interested in Nottingham Forest. Just I don't believe that their sit back and try to hold on for dear life is going to work. Maybe if they climb to 1 goal underdog, I'll be interested. We don't have that yet. Don't have the 3, but I think we might get there by the time this kicks off on Sunday morning here in the United States. So I think I'm most interested in Nottingham Forest under 2 3/4 based on current numbers. Arsenal then hosts Liverpool. Currently, Arsenal a 1/4 goal favorite. And this is not the last match. We still have Man City left to go. So Arsenal, a 1/4 goal favorite at home, a little bit more juice on Liverpool on the road. Over under 2 3/4. She's all the way to over. And Liverpool has been smashing teams ever since Jurgen Klopp announced he was stepping away at the end of the season. Arsenal with a lot of drama about Mikel Arteta, their manager, potentially moving to Barcelona. A lot of things going in wrong directions, and I trust Liverpool. They are feels like a little bit too easy because they're a dog on the road and they're leading the Premier League, but they are better than Arsenal, I think. And I think Arsenal have a lot of problems. I just don't trust Arsenal at all. I want to be against them as much as I can. I feel like last year was just a crazy start, and they've not delivered on expectations. I think they're really weighed down by those as well. So give me Liverpool getting a 1/4 of a goal. And I don't know that I really want much to do with the total because there are two teams that should be offensive, which probably usually means that both teams want the ball, both teams want to attack, and both teams will probably try to defend a lot more than they're used to. Maybe if this hits 3, I'll be a little bit more interested, but until there, I think I will lay off. And moving to Monday, last match of the week before I give you the best bet from England, we have Brentford hosting Manchester City. Currently, Brentford a 1 1/4 goal underdog. And the over-under here is 3, a little bit slightly more juice to the under. I thought this was a makeup match, but I guess they're maybe they already did that. I don't know. Anyway, Brentford 1 1/4 at home. They've not been good for a lot this season. Unfortunately, I don't think I could back them against Manchester City. Maybe I'd lean under if anything. We'll see what happens and see where this number moves. It's pretty split juice at the moment at Bet Online, so I'm not really sure that's going to do too much. But I guess if I had to pick something, I'd probably go under 3 in that matchup. So for my best bet in England, I'm gonna go with Wolverhampton. They're getting 1 goal on the road at Chelsea. I'm just really looking to be against Chelsea as much as possible and to bet Wolverhampton. So it's like a perfect scenario for my best bet. Now we'll move to Spain. Still got 4 leagues left to go. Thank you for tuning in. And all lines are courtesy of Bet Online or SportsBetting.ag. Links in the podcast descriptions, like I talked about earlier in the show. Valencia hosts Almeria in the early matchup on Saturday. Currently, Valencia a 3/4 goal favorite at home. A little bit more juice on Almeria on the road. Over unders 2 1/4, juice all the way to over. Valencia have been really good, except when they play the best competition. Now they get the worst team in La Liga, who I don't think has won a match yet this year, and just had one of their best chances against a promoted side and lost 3-0. So Valencia look pretty good to win this matchup, but I don't really trust their offense at this point. So give me the under here. I think that's my biggest interest, under 2 1/4. And it looks like that'll hit 2.5 before this kicks off early on Saturday morning here in the United States. Looks like probably about, let's see, 1 p.m. Spanish time, I'll guess. Granada then hosts Las Palmas in the next window. I love Spain where they stagger all the games. There's only one on at all times, unless there's like a midweek thing going on or something like that. But Granada here, a 1/4 goal favorite at home to Las Palmas. Over under is 2 1/4, juice to under, and more juice than Las Palmas side. Now, Las Palmas took a lead on Real Madrid their last matchup. Maybe there's a letdown here. I don't care. They are better than Granada. They're one of the best teams in La Liga. They don't have any respect. And I think I've made probably not 10 grand on them this year, but they've been tried and true for me. Even collapsing in that Real Madrid match, they still cover the spread and push the total. So I love their chances here. I think they're going to control the match. Granada have not really shown any ability to score, and they're fighting relegation deep in it, second from bottom. Yes, it seemed way too easy to take a good team getting a quarter of a goal, but Las Palmas have gotten no respect all season from the market, and that's not changing my opinion here. Move next to Alaves hosting Barcelona. Currently, Alaves a half a goal underdog at home, a little bit more juice. Over under is 2.5, a little more juice to the over. Alaves have been playing really well. Promoted side that they were the ones that beat Almeria last weekend. Now they get Barca, so they go from bottom of the league to bottom of the league in terms of expectations and living up to them. But Alaves, I think, are a really strong team. They've been able to get their striker up top for a lot of chances. Samu, he hasn't finished a lot of them. Formerly of Granada, bought away by Atletico Madrid at the beginning of the season. Maybe that was a bad move by Granada. We'll see. They will probably get relegated, and that might be a big reason because they can't score. But Alaves have figured out a way to get him a lot of chances. He doesn't finish a lot of them, but that's a good sign because Barcelona, I mean, he's a big body, which will cause problems for Barcelona, who have no real strength in center backs or any talent there, really. Talent, but they just don't play well together. And I think at this point in the season, I'm just betting against Barcelona as much as I can until the season ends. Coach is moving on, has said he's didn't have fun anymore or something like that. LOL. I think Barcelona are in terrible hands. They're going to finish the league fighting for Champions League, and it might not even get it. I mean, it's outside chance Athletic Club or Real Sociedad or Girona even knock them out, but I think it's going to be a really rough year. And there's top four should be Champions League, maybe top five in Spain, depending on, I think, performance in the European competitions this year. But I think there is some jeopardy for Barcelona. I don't know that I want to play under 2.5 here, though. I don't really trust them to finish anything. Robert Lewandowski looks like he is way past his prime, way over the hill. And I think Alaves, I'm more interested in that half of a goal at home. As I almost choke on the steak I just ate. Girona then hosts Real Sociedad in a very surprising Champions League type battle. Real Sociedad is surprisingly even more coming from way behind. Though Girona currently a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over under is 2.5, juiced pretty heavily to under. Sorry, I had to take a little sip to make sure I don't cough for the next 20 minutes of this episode because we still probably got 40 to go. Anyway, Real Sociedad, they've not been healthy. They've lost players to AFCON, and then they came back. Also lost them to Asian Cup, which I think Takafusa Kubo is still away. That's been a problem for Real Sociedad, and they've not had a ton of matches with their Copa del Rey, and they've clearly prioritized that trophy more so than their league campaign. I imagine they'll do similar things, though it's going to be a big fixture overload when they have Champions League coming up as well. I'm not sure how they'll manage that, but I do trust Imano Aguafiel is awesome. So their manager, I trust him. And it's rare that they're an underdog. Even more rare to a team that was like a 10,001 odds to win the La Liga title. And Girona are starting to fight some expectations and nerves potentially about trying to stay in a. They finally admitted they want to play for Europe, even though they're in the title race by far, way above Real Sociedad right now, and they don't have Champions League or Copa del Rey, I think, any more to worry about. With that said, I think we're potentially we're at the peak of the valuation for Girona right now. So I'm interested in Sociedad. I want to see that lineup. It's a nightcap on Saturday. So fortunately, I will be awake for that one. It's college basketball will be just rolling in and just starting after a long morning of betting soccer. LOL. But I lean to Sociedad, and I like under 2.5 because I think Sociedad, they've done a really good job of controlling matches. They don't score very well or score very efficiently. And on the road at Girona, it's going to be tough. But I think Girona is going to take this match very seriously. They're not going to be as aggressive, I don't suspect, because they know that they can get punished. Moving to Sunday, we have Villarreal hosting Cadiz. Currently, Villarreal a 1-goal favorite to Cadiz on a new manager. All the juice on Cadiz on the road. Over under is 2.5. Juice all the way to over. Which seeing Cadiz totals juice all the way to over at 2.5, not 2, are shocking. And so I'm interested in Cadiz getting that goal and also the under 2.5. Now, Villarreal's defense has been shockingly bad. They brought in a defensive manager despite an all-offensive team. Surprise, surprise, that didn't work. Cadiz are, I think, going to play the same strategy they have for years and years, no matter who the manager is, and that's to be very conservative and try to be defensive. I think they're going to give Villarreal the ball. They play a lot better at home, Villarreal do. but I don't trust them whatsoever. So I like that +1. I like under 2.5 because I think Cadiz will determine how this match goes, which is rare for a road team. But when they sit back in their own half the whole time, I think it's gonna make it hard for Villarreal to score. Osasuna then host Celta de Vigo, coming off a midweek decent performance against Barcelona, but didn't get the point that they were looking for, and red card certainly did not help. But Osasuna currently a quarter goal favorite to Celta de Vigo, a little bit more juice on Celta on the road. Over under is 2. Here we are back to 2s in La Liga, and we're juiced all the way to over. 2 is normally, or in the past, is a number I would not bet, but I do like that push factor there. And I just don't see goals in this matchup. I think Celta have been getting a ton of respect from the marketplace. I don't know that Rafa Benitez has been fired yet. But I guess I could search that while we're on here. I feel like that they were chanting for it last time, but I'm not sure it ended up happening. Let's see. Yeah, according to Wikipedia, he's still the manager. So they're going to play defensive. Celta Vigo, we're an offensive team that started playing defense. I don't know why. Don't trust Osasuna to score many goals, so give me under 2 in that one. We might get 2.25 by the time it kicks off on Sunday morning. Real Betis then hosts Getafe. Currently, Betis a half a goal underdog. Excuse me, half a goal favorite at home. A little bit more juice on the underdog is what I was going to say. Over under is 2.25. Juice very heavily to under. And Getafe, they had to play Real Madrid midweek. They are one of those teams though, that I don't think fatigue is really going to affect their physicality. They will still beat Betis up a lot. We'll see what the referee does in that matchup. It's going to be a lot of stress on him, that's for sure. Certainly La Liga refs are not exactly capable really under any circumstances in Saudi Arabia, nor in any type of actually energized stadium. With that said, I don't really like Getafe as much as a half of a goal underdog coming off a rest disadvantage on the road at the Benito Villamarin. But at the same time, I don't trust Real Betis to score goals. So I'm looking towards under 2.25 in that one. Move next to Real Madrid hosting Atleti and rematch of they played a bunch recently. Copa del Rey, they played in the Super Copa in Saudi. So like these teams should know everything about each other. Atleti knocked them out of the Copa del Rey. Real Madrid knocked Atleti out of the Super Copa. Should be a tight match, but we have Real Madrid a 3/4 goal favorite at home. A little bit more juice. Over under is 2 3/4. She's all the way to over. I'm really looking to see this be a lot more conservative of a matchup and a lot more defense. I think I want to make sure I get a 3 to play under here. And I lean to Atleti. They've not been very good away from home, but it's not a far trip. And honestly, I feel like they've been kind of swinging back where maybe their home performances have not been that great as of late. Last but not least, we'll go to Monday. Rayo Vallecano hosts Sevilla. Currently, Rayo a quarter goal favorite with all the juice right now, and it's actually been climbing. Weird to see that, but I think there's a lot of distrust in the Sevilla side. Over under here is 2.25. Choose a decent amount to under. I'm waiting to see if Sevilla climbed to half of a goal, but as I say that, I should not be back at Sevilla at this point. So I'll put under 2.25 as my biggest interest in that one. So for the best bet, I'm going to go with that Cadiz under 2.5, as I just believe that they are going to dictate tempo or make it hard for Villarreal to do so. So we got 3 leagues left, move to Italy, then we go through Germany and then France, and then we'll get the heck out of here. And I'll post this to the various platforms. If you're on YouTube, please hit subscribe. Apple Podcasts or Spotify, a 5-star review would be huge. Might as well check that to see if we got any new ones. I know it takes a little while supposedly to display the comments, but I appreciate you all for all the support you're giving. And I know I do a lot of podcasts. We do not do an NFL one this week. Andrew Snicker and I will be back on, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, and we'll probably do a bunch of props. Might even do our own props episode on top of the game. We'll see how far we get. And then Big East Ben was off on his honeymoon. If you want to congratulate at Big East Ben on Twitter, you could do that. I think he was lost in Mexico, but he got back and didn't lose any toes from the Sharks or something like that. So I think we're good to go. Moving to Saturday in Italy, we have Udinese hosting Monza. Currently, Udinese a quarter goal favorite at home, a little bit more juice. Over unders 2.5, juice all the way to under. And this is a problematic matchup for me because I want to play both these two teams under. They are not trying to play under matches. I just don't really believe in their goal scoring. Udinese have had really high scoring matches going back for what feels like a couple months now. Monza have really not. And I feel like if there's ever a turn or a reversion mean, it's that there's going to be a low scoring match here. And 2.5 is a big total for these two sides. With that said, I just don't know that I've had enough success with Udinese unders. And I think Monza just wanting to play aggressively, just not having the people for it does leave them a little bit susceptible to a better team. And I think Udinese are that now, though it's been a really rough run for them for pretty much a season and a half or 2 full years. Empoli then hosts Genoa. Currently, Empoli a pick'em with all the juice on Genoa on the road. Over under is 2, juice almost all the way to over. Empoli look like a team they're going down. They've been in Serie A for a bunch of time that no one expected them to be there this long. Things have not gone well for them. They can't really score goals. They've tried to bring in new players and got a hat trick from one in Zukovsky, but I just don't trust them. Genoa still get a ton of respect, even after selling off their best center back to Tottenham Hotspur in January, where they're still not safe yet, but they've been playing well. I think my biggest interest here is under 2, but I'm hoping it's pretty juiced to the over right now that we might get a little bit more before this kicks off. Moving next, we'll go to Frosinone hosting Milan. Currently, Frosinone a 3/4 goal underdog at home with almost all the juice on Milan on the road. Over under is 3, juiced almost all the way to under. Like to push on 3, so if you want to play under there, I'd grab that. Frosinone, I'd love to have them be a full goal underdog. I've really had not a ton of success fading Milan, though I still don't think they're any good. I think their backup center backs or third string center backs are extremely problematic, but they seem to find multiple penalties in matches and just get really good fortune. I don't know that will continue. Rafael Leao has really not been very good this season. Just hard to after he was so awesome last year. Pulisic just wastes chances. It's Olivier Giroud, not at the penalty spot, and I think he did get a little banged up in their last match against Bologna. But I just don't know where the goals come from for Milan. I think I'm more interested in fading them than playing unders because I don't trust their defense. But Frosinone are a newly promoted, and they've had big trouble. And they've also had big trouble preventing goals. 3 is a big total for this matchup, and that's what's got me interested. And it's a reversion to the mean candidate as well. Last but not least, on Saturday, we have Bologna hosting Sassuolo. Currently, Bologna a 3/4 goal favorite. A little bit more juice. Over unders 2.5. Juice very heavily to under. Potentially to see a 2.25 here. Bologna had a really good shutout streak going, clean sheet streak at home. They've not really been as good defensively or as Loctite as they had been. Sassuolo are an offensive side that are going to try to score, but they haven't really done a ton of that this year either. And who knows if Domenico Berardi moving or trying to move all season, it seemed. I'm not really sure what's going on there. I think my biggest interest here is if Sassuolo climb to a full goal underdog. I don't think it's going to happen, though. Would be a really gigantic price for Bologna to lay. So I like Sassuolo getting at 3/4, I guess. Talk myself into it. I like under 2.5 because I just don't trust Bologna to score goals. Really, I don't know where they come from. Xerxes, I guess, but he also skies chances from inside the 6-yard box with pretty relative frequency. Moving to Sunday, the early one, we have Torino hosting Salernitana. Currently, Torino a 1-goal favorite with a little bit more juice. Over unders 2.25 with a little bit more juice. Torino are going to control the ball. They're not going to do much with it. I don't really trust them to do much offensively. So Salernitana getting a full goal of insurance is interesting. I think I'm more interested, though, in under 2.25. It's basically 2 goals of insurance if Salernitana are unable to score. Salernitana goals are hard to find. Cantreva is a great outside-the-box opportunist. But they really need to figure out their defense. They're a relegation fighter that don't have a lot big budget. So I feel like they should play more defensively, but I'm not the manager. Moving next to Napoli hosting Verona, who are selling everything that isn't nailed down. Napoli a 1.25 goal favorite, a little bit more juice on Verona, surprisingly, on the road. Over unders 2.5, juice all the way to over. Now the big question here is do you trust Verona? I guess I'll ask myself this. Do I trust Verona enough to keep Napoli out? I think it's partly because I don't trust Napoli's offense that I do. So I like Verona under 2.5. I don't really want to play their side here, which I'm trying to only play unders if I like the side as well with a big road dog. I just don't think Verona have a very good chance to score here, and I don't think Napoli are scoring 3 themselves. Moving next to Atalanta hosting Lazio. Currently, Atalanta a 0.5 goal favorite at home. All the juice on Lazio on the road. Over under here is 2.25, just a little bit to under. So Lazio had a huge under streak going. This will be a big test of that. They're very juiced 0.5 goal, probably falls back to 1/4 before this kicks off. Atalanta have not been scoring a ton. They haven't been that rip-roaring offensive machine like they had been in the past, probably because they sold a lot of talent. But Lazio are going to be very conservative. I think they're going to try to take a lead and kill the game. I think Atalanta are going to try to take a lead. I mean, everyone wants a lead, of course, but Atalanta are trying to take the lead, and then they'll probably be a little bit more conservative. I would suspect because they're realizing that Lazio are a Champions League advancer. I think they're taking on Bayern Munchen. I just don't think there's a ton of goals or goal opportunities in this matchup. Two pretty big clubs. So there's certainly a lot of firepower, but Lazio have been on a great understreak, and I don't see that changing. Moving to the nightcap on Sunday, we have the big Derby d'Italia, or whatever it's called. Inter Milan hosting Juventus. Currently, Inter a half a goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over unders 2.25, juice all the way to under. And there's supposedly some preparations made for this matchup to get guys to prevent them from getting second yellows to get suspended. But then Arkadiusz Milik got a nice little red card early in the match at Empoli, or at home for Empoli, and that didn't go very well. Anyway, Inter a half a goal favorite. It's a pretty big price for a team that's neck and neck with them for the Scudetto. I think Inter at home probably takes a point. They just don't want to lose this match. Juve definitely would take a point on the road at Inter. I think this is a very interesting development for the Scudetto race, and whoever takes the bull by the horns, this one gets a win here, will be a huge step for taking home the Italian championship. But I don't know that I necessarily think that Inter have been playing well enough to deserve this type of price. I think Juve keeps this very close. I think this is probably a low scoring type of draw. And I think Juve getting that half of a goal at even money right now, might even get more than that. I feel like that's a pretty premium price for Inter Milan, who've not been playing great. And Lautaro Martinez just feels like he's kind of alone out there sometimes. Moving to Monday, Roma hosting Cagliari. Currently Roma 1.25 goal favorite with all the juice in Cagliari on the road. Over unders 2.5, juice all the way to over. And I think Cagliari are going to keep this close. Roma parted ways with Jose Mourinho. Somehow missed that, but eventually found out when I was watching one of their matches recently. I think it was against Verona. Roma, to me, they've got a lot of problems, and I don't think it was just the manager. I think it's more their talent. Certainly, though, expectations and the previous manager did not help. With that said, I think Cagliari go on the road, keep this close. I think Roma do have trouble scoring. I like that 1.25 goals on the road, though it's very juiced at the moment. Maybe the even money on 2.5 looks even better right now. For my best bet in Italy, I'm going to go with that Verona under 2.5 goals. I guess going all in on a Verona team of backups, but they've sold so many attackers that they can't really threaten the opposing goal, unfortunately. Moving to German Bundesliga, we'll start on Saturday with Bayern Munchen hosting Borussia Mönchengladbach. Currently, Bayern a 2.25 goal favorite at home with almost all the juice. Over unders 4, which is gigantic, but that's not too surprising for Bayern Munchen. They had a tough trip to Augsburg, as they always do. Last weekend, they were very fortunate not to fall behind early to a penalty or a red card or a lot of things. But then took a 2-0 lead and then played around with their food, unfortunately. It's _Schnicker favorite if you listen to the NFL podcast. And if you're not, we've been crushing it, won a ton of money over the playoffs and throughout the season. So you should have been with us the last few weeks. Shame on you if you're not, but be with us next year. You can make it all up to us or something like that, especially if you leave a 5-star review. That'd be huge on Apple Spotify or on YouTube, and subscribe. Anyway, back to this matchup. I don't really know what to do with here. Borussia Mönchengladbach have been a really tough team for Bayern München. They're called like their bogey team or the Gastspieler or whatever it's called in German. Not a language I speak, unfortunately. Barely do English. But Gladbach getting 2.25 goals is just gigantic. It's a big price away and in München as well. But I think the key to Bayern, I guess, getting back in the Scudetto race or catching up to Bayer Leverkusen is they need to score a bunch of goals because their defense is not great. Problem is they haven't been scoring a ton. And I think Gladbach, they're so threatening on set pieces and things of that nature. That's probably best for Gladbach. I think they're notoriously, like, year after year, seem to be one of the top teams. Maybe it's because their open play goals aren't great, but they score a ton from set pieces. And I think that's going to be a problem for Bayern. So ultimately, I like that 2.25 because it's gigantic, especially for a team that's not necessarily competent. It's certainly struggled on the road. But I guess I should call them competent. They're a great home team, bad road team, but Bayern have not looked capable of beating anyone significantly unless it's in Champions League. And a total of 4 is just gigantic. I mean, to push not only on 3, but on the next goal, that's certainly Bayern have 7 nils in them, but Tuchel has always been a defensive manager, I think. And we've seen it at Chelsea and other places, PSG even. I just feel like he's not the type that's killing teams 8-0. And if you get to halftime and it's 0-0, which wouldn't be a shock. Yes, they certainly have gone over in those situations before. I just don't think Bayern, especially with potential Kingsley Coman injury, they've just been really grasping for as many people as possible. And hopefully you can hear the extreme storm that just picked up. Hopefully there's no hail coming, but we'll see. Mainz 05 then they host Werder Bremen in the Frankfurt area in southern Germany, southwestern Germany. Currently, Mainz a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over under is 2.5, juice a little bit to under. And I don't know where goals come from. 2.5 is a tiny total. We just said 4 for Bayern. Probably a lot of them will be around the 3 range. So this is a small one, but not scaring me, especially after how many under 2s I play in Spain and Italy. I think Werder Bremen have been playing a lot better ever since the break. I don't necessarily know why, but Mainz are just a team I want to be against. They don't score goals. They've been fighting relegation on their second manager, and they wouldn't have moved on from the first one, but he had to quit because they couldn't win forever. There's lightning. I think Mainz, no Flumph, they're getting healthier, but Jonathan Burkhardt, they're like young studs, knee injury. Basically, he's missed a ton of time for them and will probably be sold this summer, maybe when they fall to the Schweizer Liga. But it's not going great. Hopefully that's not too loud because that'd be really a shame if it's messing up my podcast. But hopefully this handy true mic will do good enough. I just like Werder Bremen, the way they've been playing. I want to fade Mainz, so I like that quarter of a goal on the road. We might get a half by the time this kicks off, which would be gigantic, but I wouldn't be shocked because Mainz have been getting a lot of respect for the market. It does not deserve. They do not deserve. And I like under 2.5 here because I don't think the home favorite will score or score much. Sport Club Freiburg then hosts VfB Stuttgart. Currently, Freiburg a quarter goal underdog at home with almost all the juice on Stuttgart on the road. Over under is 2.75, a little bit more juice to the under, and I think there's good reason for that. Givasi had gone to the AFCON, and Stuttgart have not been playing well since the resumption of the season. We're certainly playing above their heads, but I don't know how they could have kept that offensive efficiency going. Freiburg are a much better team at home. They've got a lot of problems, unfortunately, as the team I probably follow the closest. I do my own FIFA 20 season, which whatever year we're on now, I think it's year 4 or 5. You want to follow along on YouTube, go to the real_G Warner and watch me get really mad when I either give up a goal on the first possession or I take a lead and then I'm unable to cover crosses. Anyway, Freiburg, they're a great defense, though. Offense has been struggling for a while, and I don't really trust it much. I do think they play very well at home in front of that crowd, though. It's rare to see them an underdog, especially against a team that's been struggling like Stuttgart. So I feel like this is Stuttgart just they're similar to Brighton. I feel like they're about the peak, or Girona maybe would probably be a better example. Girona's been a little bit better at sticking to their abilities, but Stuttgart don't have the City group, Manchester City group behind them. And I just don't trust them to score. So I'm going to go Freiburg getting a quarter of a goal, and I like under 2.75 as well. It's picking up. Hopefully that's not a tornado siren because it'd be really tough if I died while recording a podcast. Anyway, we'll move next to SV Darmstadt hosting Bayer Leverkusen. Leverkusen top of the table and looking like the best team in Europe. Darmstadt a 1.75 goal underdog at home with almost all the juice. Over under is 3.25, juice all the way to under. I'd love to be against Leverkusen because I think they're getting too much respect. I just don't know really how to do it in a responsible fashion. I think under 3.25 would probably be the best one, but that's probably going to be an easy one for me to skip because I think Darmstadt are going to try their best to play as offensively as possible. And once they fall behind, they have to open up. Now, do they do that at 1-0? Probably not. They probably wait till late in the match. At 2-0, they probably have to come out, and then that total's in really big trouble. They score first, and Leverkusen are going to jump on and go extremely balls to the wall to score. That's scary, but they've been pretty good defensively, I think, in holding teams out. So I lean to under 3.25, but I can see a lot of ways of that not going well. VfL Bochum then hosts Football Club Augsburg. Currently, Bochum a quarter goal favorite at home, a little bit more juice. Over under 2.75, juice a little bit to under. I think Bochum as a home team, they've been great, and that's what's kept them in the league for a while. But it's a little weird to keep seeing them favored at home. I think it's happened the last 3 home games, I want to say. And I don't think their play really deserves it. Augsburg have been so good under Just Stolp, their new Dutch manager. Not even new anymore. It's been there in the job for a while now. Came in a few matches into the season. I like Augsburg getting that quarter of a goal, and I like under 2.75 because I just don't think Bochum is a home favorite. It really goes with the theme. I just want to bet unders and underdogs when I don't think the home team will score very efficiently. FC Köln, speaking of teams that don't score efficiently, then hosts Eintracht Frankfurt. Currently, Köln a quarter goal underdog on a new manager themselves. A little bit more juice on them. Over unders 2.5, juice all the way to under. This one's probably fallen, but I don't really see a huge reason to buy in now. 2.25, 2.5, not that different because ultimately 1-0 is what you're rooting for, or goalless. And I'd rather probably save money on the juice long term and hope that there's maybe some movement towards over, though I don't know who's backing the over in this matchup because Eintracht Frankfurt, they like to go take leads and then sit on them, even against bad teams like SV Darmstadt, who are bottom of the table in a big derby. So I expect that same sort of thing to happen here. Cologne will do a lot of work to keep that from happening. I don't think I want to back the home dog because what's been said about Cologne is that it's a tough stadium to play in, but not really. It's like a big crowd. That's probably a better way to say it. It's a big crowd, but it's not an intimidating one. So just all these Germans just going, yeah, yeah, ja, yeah, whoa, super. Let's have a beer. Probably a terrible rendition, but there we go. And as I'm doing this, we'll see a little money coming in on Cologne as or on Frankfurt as we speak. Moving to Sunday, Wolfsburg hosting Hoffenheim. Currently, Wolfsburg a quarter goal favorite at home with almost all the juice. Over unders 3, almost all the juice to under. I'm not a believer in Hoffenheim. They had a really great start to the year with a bunch of road victories. I think they're going to have a lot of trouble. Wolfsburg didn't have a great start to the season, but I expect them to be the better club. So I don't really want much to do there. I guess if anything, I'll play under 3 on that Sunday matchup. Move next to the last matchup of the weekend before we get to France, and then I'll sum it all up and then also with Beth Bet, and then spend the next 6 hours of my night. Just kidding. It's almost 11:30. Well, hopefully not 6 hours, but doing college basketball. Check out my Patreon, patreon.com/real_Warner for that stuff. So I've been rolling 60% so far to start the season. RB Leipzig hosts Union Berlin, the last matches of Germany before we get to college basketball promotions. Sorry, we already got there. But then to get to France, Leipzig at 1.5 goal favorite to Union Berlin, and over under here is 3 with a little bit of juice to under. Now, RB Leipzig were an awesome home team that destroyed everyone in their wake, I guess is a good way to put it. They've got Union Berlin coming in. Their manager suspended for hitting Sané in the face. LOL. But I've said a lot of LOLs in this podcast. I don't know why. Sorry. I guess everything is funny to me tonight. But Leipzig a 1.5 favorite. It's gigantic. I don't know if I want to play Union Berlin. I think I'm much more comfortable with under 3. But I think that'll be my biggest interest there because I'm looking to be against Leipzig because they just, unfortunately, I thought coming into the year that they would be able to challenge Bayern. I was wrong that it was Leverkusen instead. Leipzig have unfortunately done the business of selling players and seeing Forsberg move on mid-year. I feel like that's not the end, but it's just been not a great year for them. And I feel like this is one of those matches where they can't get caught and then fully eventually turning their focus. They probably already have Champions League or finishing as high as possible. They know that the Meisterschale is out of reach for them. So my best bet for Germany, I'll go with Cologne under 2.5 goals. FC Cologne at home against Eintracht Frankfurt. Moving to Saturday's French Liga action, then I'll summarize it up in a best bet and our ultimate best bet and put it on YouTube and on Instagram, the real_G Warner on both those platforms. Rennes hosts Montpellier on Saturday. Only 2 matches every French Saturday, which is a nice balance compared to all of Germany playing on Saturday, basically, and most of England as well. But Rennes, a 1 goal favorite right now to Montpellier. Over under is 2.5, juiced all the way to over, and a little bit more juice on Montpellier on the road. I think this is a tough match for Rennes. Montpellier have not been playing great, though, to be frank. To be false, Rennes have been, I think, disappointing this year. Certainly not living up to crowd expectations. I saw one manager leave. I don't really know, though, what. Because I lean to the underdog, certainly. I like the push on 1, and I guess I lean to under as well because I just don't really trust Rennes to score much. Rennes were a quarter goal favorite here in the Coupe de France to Marseille. I don't know that Montpellier and Marseille are that different for it to be a quarter to a +1 here, especially with French Cup lineups. But it just feels too big to me getting that full goal of insurance. And I wouldn't want to lose that if you're playing Montpellier on the road. For the nightcap on Saturday of Nantes hosting Racing Club de Lens. Currently Nantes, a quarter goal underdog at home with more juice. Over just 2.5, juiced all the way to under. Maybe this falls to 2.25. It was weird because I was watching Lens and they were talking about last year how Lens were such a great defensive team, which is amazing because they were so aggressively offensive, were on the front foot forever. But that probably protected their defense because their opponents had to be afraid of marauding midfielders, defenders, even up the pitch. Pressure is probably still there. I mean, a lot of the team has moved on a lot of different ways. Captain left, a lot of the front line sold Lois Openda to RB Leipzig, who we just talked about in the German Bundesliga. But Lens are still kind of playing the same way they were, not as as sharp as they were, and it's hard to live up to second place in Liga, challenging Paris Saint-Germain to the final day, I think, or final few match days. Now they go to Nantes, though. Nantes have not been able to score goals. It's been better this year. They're not, to me, as depth or deep in the relegation fight as they, I think, got saved the last week of the season, last match day of the season last year. I don't really want to play Nantes at home. I think if anything, I like under here. Sticking to that, I guess that theme that Lens defense will be really good because the opponents are so afraid of the offense. I think Nantes know they can't win a shootout, and so they probably want to keep this as low scoring as possible. Moving to Sunday, big day of French League. We have Monaco hosting Le Havre. Currently, Monaco 1.25 goal favorite at home with all the juice on Le Havre on the road. Over unders 2.75, juice the under. I don't really think Le Havre are as bad as they've been playing lately, but taking a loss to Lorient, who's been fighting relegation on the road, that's tougher, of course, but not great start for them. I think Monaco took a worse loss though, or worse, I guess, draw with Marseille, and then took a pretty bad loss before that to either Brest or Reims. I always confuse those two, red and whites, in France. I just feel like Le Havre, they were a great defense. They won Ligue 2. They've had a little bit of a rough run, and it's going to be hard for them to go to Monaco because Monaco's going to attack the whole time. I just don't think Monaco has done very well. Adi Huta, their manager, is under a lot of stress or pressure right now. I think Le Havre, I'm going to choose to back the team, even though the form hasn't been great. And I think to that end, I like under 2.75 here because I don't think Le Havre are in a great situation if this is a shootout. I think they keep this low scoring. Monaco is always open to potentially give up a counterattack or something like that. And it's the really early French League match. And I feel like those a lot of times are very slow, just like a early NBA matchup here in the United States in Miami after all the basketball players went to live on Saturday night. We'll next move to Lille hosting Clermont Foot. Currently, Lille a 1.25 goal favorite. Chooses split both ways. Over unders 2.75. She's very heavily to under. And that is a Clermont Foot juice to say, but at the same time, Lille have not been scoring much. Clermont Foot I don't trust them to score at all, especially away from home. They need penalties to score at home. On the road, very unlikely. Lille are very aggressive, but I don't think that Paulo Fonseca has had as great of a season as he did last year. To me, they were like a dark horse to win Liga, and they have not performed like that this season. Still a long way to go, of course, but Paris Saint-Germain doesn't seem to lose matches, or at least they have leads in every match. If they could hold on to them, that'd be a different story. I think my biggest interest is under 2.75 in that one. Football Club de Metz then hosts Football Club Lorient, a big battle at the bottom, relegation battle. Metz currently a quarter goal favorite at home, a little bit more juice. Over under is 2, juice more to the over. I think Metz are a really tough team that play, and unfortunately, they play a style that is going to restrict the opponent. I love that for under. I also love that for underdogs, and they try to take a chance, but they don't get many of those. So seeing them a quarter goal favorite, yes, they might have a lot more possession in this matchup. I'm just not really sure that I believe them because it's hard to trust where their goals come from. So for that reason, I'm interested in Lorient getting that quarter goal. And to that end, I like under 2 as well, just because I'm not a believer in goal. When I don't believe in a home favorite, I've already said this 4 times in this podcast, but if I don't like a home favorite to score, I like the road underdog, and I like under. And I do feel like Mets will have a tough time. Wow, the Lightning's getting even brighter. Never going to sleep tonight. Probably good for my college basketball betting and whatever we're doing, the soccer card at the end as well. Reims then hosts Toulouse. Currently, Reims a 3-quarter goal favorite. There we got some thunder. Toulouse very juiced all the way, actually. Might fall to half of a goal, which seems like a big overreaction to Reims not playing very well last weekend. Toulouse are not very good, and they've really struggled this season. Ligue 2 champions from 2 seasons ago, and got into Europe, and everything went haywire. Total here is 2.5, just a little bit to under. I don't really have much I want to do with this one, unless I'm backing a Toulouse defense to potentially slow down a Reims offense, which has overperformed this year. I guess that's probably the most sensible. I just don't want to do much with the road dog here, and that might be a good way for me to stay away. 2 matches left, then we'll do an ultimate best bet. Brest hosting Sabre-Soir, hosting Olympique Jadis Club de Nice. Currently, Brest, a pick'em with all the juice right now. Over under is 2, juice all the way to over. Would imagine that Nice will close a quarter goal underdog, and that the total will hit 2.25. That is music to my ears. I'd like to be on unders with Nice. They play great defense. Brest, Sabre-Soir, just not really the best goal scoring offense, to put it that way. Don't have a quarter yet at BetOnline or SportsBetting.ag. Links in the podcast description. If you want to get free money, go follow those links, get 50% or a full 100% match bonus at SportsBetting.ag. But I will be waiting to see what happens. I don't really have much to say with this one. I guess I like under 2 as well. Put that on the list. Don't have the quarter yet. I don't like backing pick'ems on road teams. I think there's too low of a ceiling for road teams and too high of a ceiling for home teams. And last but not least, we go to the Classique. Or that might actually be PSG and or this is a Olympique derby, I think is a better way to put it. I probably should look this up, but we're about at the end. Thank you all for tuning in, by the way, for following on Twitter. I've seen a few of you been with me this whole time, which I appreciate. Lyon currently a pick'em. All the juice on Marseille on the road, over unders 2.5, juiced a little bit to over. Lyon, I'm still upset I didn't play Rennes against them. They had a pretty big comeback where we're down 3-0 at home, or yeah, I think at home because they were favored. I I don't Lyon. I mean, there's a reason they were at the bottom fighting relegation. We're sitting literally dead bottom of Liga, despite being probably the most famous club in the entire country. But we've seen Bordeaux go down, so I guess it's not the craziest thing. Anyway, Marseille, a pick'em favorite on the road, might even climb to a quarter goal favorite. That's to me too steep. I just don't know really what situation I want to back Lyon here. Alexander Lacazette, without him, Lyon will be so screwed. Better protect him, wrap him in cotton wool. Make sure that whatever fans are throwing rocks don't hit his window. But for the total here, 2.5, I feel like I would lean under, but I just don't want to trust the Lyon defense. And if they fall behind, just like that last match day at Stade Rennais or at home for Stade Rennais, they're going to do their best to score a ton of goals because they know they need to. So I don't feel like there's a lot for that for me in that nightcap. So I'll probably skip that one and move on to our ultimate best bet because I know everyone's been sticking around for that. If you're not over my Patreon, check it out, patreon.com/real_G Warner. Best spot to get all my plays, leans, write-ups, everything. And if you download the app, you even get a notification when I lock things in because I hit a special button on the website or on my phone that says send notifications so that people know that I'm locking something in. So you can get a -2 when something's moving to -2.5 in college basketball, or grab a quarter of a goal underdog when they're moving to pick 'em. I'm hoping that we will eventually be in some sort of society where people are helping me out with that. But I'm doing it for all of you at a very reasonable, affordable price, especially if you are subscribed to me on other platforms. So check that out. Patreon.com/real_G Warner. As for YouTube, Twitter, every place, I'm the real_G Warner. We're doing shorts on YouTube and reels on Instagram of short 1-minute cuts. That's what I'm preparing to do right now for the ultimate best bet on this episode. If you could leave a 5-star review or subscribe or do whatever you can on any of those platforms, make sure you get my stuff as soon as they come out. That'd be great. I'm trying to keep it on a pretty normal schedule, but it is hard to do. So that's why we're recording at 11:36 on a Friday night, partying, with all my peoples. I guess it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal because I don't think anyone wants to be standing out in the line at Skellig right now with lightning and hail or whatever the heck's going on. And I guess I should probably stop stalling and get into this thing because I got a lot of work to do, college basketball card and stuff. Try to keep that 60% for this season going. So I guess let's get into it because now is the time. This is the real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. And this is the ultimate best bet from the European soccer weekend. So we'll start in the Premier League. I like Wolverhampton getting a full goal. In La Liga in Spain, I like Cadiz under 2.5 goals. In Ligue 1 in France, I like Lens getting a quarter of a goal. In the Bundesliga, I like Cologne under 2.5 goals. And in Serie A, I like Verona under 2.5. But for my ultimate best bet on this episode, and thank you for tuning in, please subscribe, follow the podcast links or the casino links that are in the podcast description to get a free 50% bonus on your first time deposit at BetOnline, or a 100% match up to $500 at SportsBetting.ag. Anyway, for the pick, let's go with Wolverhampton, a 1-goal underdog on the road at Chelsea Football Club. I'm just not a believer in Chelsea's offense. I'm a believer in Wolverhampton to restrict Chelsea and make this a really hard goal scoring day. So give me Wolverhampton, a 1-goal underdog on the road at Chelsea for my ultimate best bet in this episode. And that'll do it. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for a ton of college basketball stuff. Go jump on the Patreon, patreon.com/real_G Warner. Get all my picks, plays, leans, everything. Thanks for stopping in.